Beauty Business Matters. I'm Susan Routledge, your host, and today we have a very special guest. We have Rachael Howard with us from Beauty Within. And I have known Rachael, we've just worked it out, for nearly 20 years now.
Gosh.
Can't believe it, Rachael.
Where's that time gone, Susan?
I know. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Susan.
And I wanted to get you on as a guest because obviously I've watched your career change from one angle to another, always being a lifestyle business, like lifestyle career. And you're just the epitome of, I think that you can be and do anything in our industry. And you've just done so many different things. So, and obviously when we were talking the other day, I hadn't realised that to start with, you wanted to be a nurse. Is that right?
Yes, that's how it sort of started. I'd always wanted to go into nursing, and I went to sixth form, got some extra qualifications, sort of human biology, and went and set my nursing exam in Durham. And I failed it, unfortunately, due to the maths. Not very good on the maths side of things. So I went then to work for the civil service, which again, I know there's sort of a wide variety of jobs within the civil service, but let's say mine wasn't the most interesting for me. It just, you were timed to do your work, you weren't allowed to talk, which again, you know, it was just something that my heart wasn't in it. If your heart's in it, you don't enjoy it, you know, very mundane. So by chance, I found there was some, I was only sort of 18, 19, some introductory courses at the time to things like reflexology, aromatherapy, Indian head massage, and it was through at Darlington. It was a lady who was doing it, and I thought, well, I'll go and give this a try, see what it's like. So that's sort of how it started. I did these little introductory courses and then really enjoyed them. So still while I was working, I would go to college on a night time through from Durham to Darlington. And again, it wasn't a local fund. It was a private course. This lady was renting the salon on a Friday night. It was only spare time, so I'd go through every Friday. And there was only 10 of us on the course doing, well, we had to do massage first, about anatomy and physiology. And then the year later, enrolled with the same lady to do aromatherapy. Absolutely fabulous course. What was interesting looking back now, there was 10 of us in the group, 9 of them were nurses. And then little me from an office job. And even back then they were using them in hospice, and you know, so it was, you know, around then. Absolutely loved it. And then I looked at sort of what else, as we were saying, what routes, so many different routes you can go down. So I thought I'll go into the beauty route. So I then looked at which colleges did beauty. And again, all the local colleges did hair and beauty.
I had to do hair and beauty.
Well, as you can tell, I'm not a hair person. So the nearest one was Gateshead College. So the old Gateshead College isn't there anymore. So I went there and I did BTEC diploma in beauty for 2 years. Absolutely loved it. And then from there, sort of worked in various salons and spas. And then I got the opportunity to go and work for Steiner on the cruise ships, which I absolutely loved. It was just, I mean, you get onto this ship and I don't know, you know, how many thousands of staff are there. And you think, looking back now, how did I do it? I'm stood there going on this ship thinking, I don't know a soul. You know, I'm going to be in the middle of the Atlantic or Pacific, wherever it's going. Don't know anybody. But what was interesting, I was thinking about this. I watched the lovely Vicky Ross, who you had on, and she was saying about, you know, your frontal part of your brain decision making isn't developed. And I thought, mine definitely wasn't developed then, because I ended up on this ship with all these people I didn't know. But I would say to anybody, something like the ship, it puts you in good stead for working in the industry, because it's 12 hours a day, you know, 6 days a week, you know, 6.5 if you're unlucky. And, you know, there's nobody really to sort of, what am I trying to say, Susan? Like, you've got to make your own decisions. Yes, you've got your salon manager there, but, you know, you're in charge of, you know, 12 clients a day back to back. Very hard work. But again, just beautiful ship I was on. You know, you were doing a body treatment, looking out at the ocean, because the ship I was on was a brand new ship, absolutely fabulous. The Galaxy.
Wow.
It was when Jay MacDonald was on.
All right.
So the
yes.
BBC were on, like filming everybody, and I was lucky enough to meet her. She was lovely, really down to earth, and it was just a really fun time to be on the ship.
Did you get much time off then?
You got a day off, but on your day off, if somebody phoned in sick or fell over, usually drunk, which, it's another, I'm sure you heard of that side of the ship. She worked hard and you partied hard. Then you'd get a phone call from your salon manager, they knew you weren't at the Metro Centre or you couldn't be anywhere else. So-and-so's phoned in sick, you have to come in. So, but then you could earn extra time off, if you sort of sold so much or, you hit target. That was sort of a reward, which obviously everybody wanted extra time off because you're exhausted.
So did you just do one season or?
It was 9 months I did, 9 months. And I mean, I was lucky enough, I did 2 ships. So the first ship was sort of like around Europe and the Med and places, and then the second ship, a brand new ship, we picked it up in Hamburg, brought it back to Southampton, no passengers on. We did the setup, so I was so lucky to do the setup. And then we took it over from Southampton to New York. So we did this inaugural cruise to nowhere, and we had Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman on the ship. They came on to premiere the film Jerry Maguire. That he was in. I never got to meet them, but we saw them sort of on crew TV. So there was all these people involved, actors and actresses coming in for treatment.
Be a lot of press as well, was there?
Took over the ship, and it was just a really fun time. It was really hard work, but again, it was just, an experience now, sort of sailing into New York, sailing out of New York, and very hard work, but it was fun times as well. And I say you learned a lot. If there's like an issue with clients or anything, you sort of you dealt with it. And I can remember the poor salon manager at the time, she wasn't much older than me. It was a big spa and a new ship, and everybody pre-booked treatments before they came on. I remember there was like your platinum package, your gold package, and so we were booked out. And this lady was furious with the salon manager because she couldn't get booked in. And I remember it was like slow motion. They'd give them glasses of champagne. She just threw the glass of champagne over the salon manager. Wow. And I remember the salon manager ringing me later on and said, "Did you witness that?" And I said, "You didn't do anything wrong." But it's hard. It's the passenger, they're
demanding.
Making a demanding. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, I know.
It all sounds very glamorous, but I think the thing is as well, I can always remember because one of the girls who worked for, two of the girls who worked for me went on the cruise ships and then came back to work afterwards, came back to work for me. And they always said as well that, you below deck a lot of the time kind of thing. And if you really want to go up on deck, you've got to get all dressed. You can't go in all of your your leisure wear and things. You've got to put your makeup on and everything so you look presentable. You can't just go and get a breath of fresh air.
It was very strict. So if you did have any extra time off, you'd earned extra time off. When we went in the spa, I remember we had like a little white shirt and some khaki shorts with the spa name on. You had to wear them when you were in passenger area. And in the nighttime, in the disco, we'd be boogieing about with our polyester navy suits on and your name badge on. I think the only time, New Year, we're allowed to sort of dress up again because the cameras were on for, the Jane's documentary. Or then and again, you weren't allowed to use passenger lifts or really be seen in passenger area when you had your lovely white dress on.
Right.
With your new green belt. So yes, it was, which you get it because it's standards, isn't it? And the ship I was on had a celebrity ship at the time, very, very high standards. I mean, it was a beautiful brand new ship. We were very fortunate that our salon was on deck level, because when we docked with other ships, you sort of go on and have a look at their salon. Their salons were down in the basement. We were like, I wouldn't like to work here. So, I was very privileged. The ship, I was on, it was a beautiful ship, and you met some very interesting clientele, shall we say, that came in.
Yeah.
But looking back now, I think how young I was when I did that.
Yeah, but I think when you're young though, it's just
It's just an
you don't
adventure.
think of it too much. You
No,
just
it
like
was
it's an
just,
adventure.
yeah. But one of the main things I always remember, I mean, I'm a little bit older and maturer now, because you did party hard. I remember if in your lunch break you'd go back to your cabin, full face of makeup, you'd lie on your bed like this, have a little half an hour snooze, and then go back to work because you knew you were back there till 8 o'clock on the night. Then you had to do port clean when the manager would come round, almost like with a white glove on, and check all the surfaces. But I get it because it was a standard.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you'd be leaving maybe 10 o'clock on a night, and I couldn't do it now. But the hours, and you have the energy there, don't you, to do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
But some of the places we went to, and it's a different world. It really is. It
Yeah.
really is.
So did you get to spend much time on land kind of thing?
Yeah, we did. I mean, it'd be a case of like, oh, we're in Cozumel again, or we're in Grand Cayman again. But it was fabulous. Every time we docked, we had time to get off because the spa was shut. It was just if you had a sea day, you were like at sea sort of all day.
Amazing. So you did 9 months. You weren't
Yeah,
tempted to carry on then?
Do you know, I was and I wasn't. I had one of them things back home called a boyfriend at the time, you know.
Very patient one for 9 months.
Well, how I wouldn't know, would I? So my contract, I always remember it finished in the April, and I thought, in hindsight, is a wonderful thing. The ship was going over to Alaska, and I would have loved to have stayed on. And funnily enough, I actually got off, and then a guy came on as manager 2 weeks after I left, and me and him met later in the industry and become very good friends, and we still are. I was like, God, isn't that strange? I got off the Galaxy and you got on and you were manager. And it's like a sliding doors moment, but we still met in the industry and still kept in touch. But yeah, I could have stayed on, but like I said, you know, I keep blaming that, you know, brain wasn't properly developed then and couldn't make decisions. So yes.
So then what did you do?
Then what did I do? Then I sort of got itchy feet. I don't know if your girls had that. You sort of, when I say itchy feet, you know, sort of, you know, metaphorically speaking, that I couldn't settle back home. I then got offered to take a beauty franchise on with a well-known beauty group. And it was going to be in Newcastle, Northumberland Street, one of the busiest streets.
Right, okay, yeah.
Went and looked at the property, and all came to all. The hairdresser at the time, he was subletting from somebody else, and the people who owned the building wouldn't let him sublet. So
Right,
after
yeah.
sort of 9 to 10 months of going to all of the meetings, doing all of the training for their brands and everything, that just sort of... So then I went back to my old college to do my teaching. And that was lovely because the lecturers who had taught me, they were still there. And it was wonderful. So I started teaching part-time and working in a salon part-time.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I just want to do full-time teaching, which was very few and far between if the positions to come up. Because as you know, when you find a good college and they find a good lecturer,
Yeah,
it's
they're not
hard,
going to let them go.
very, very hard. So it was in the days when professional beauty in the back of the magazines, they advertised the jobs.
Oh, yes, I can remember.
Yes. And there was one for a full-time lecturer in London, and then one for a lecturer overseas. So I looked at this one in London, sort of researched it, and I thought, oh, they seem to have a high turnover of staff, because I think I've saw that, you know, the same ad kept cropping up. So I went for this one in the Middle East, went down to London. The lady came over from the Middle East. We met in London, you know, had a chat and everything. And she was originally from Scotland. She'd gone over to the Middle East and married somebody and set up a training school and had a spa there. So I didn't hear anything for about a week. And then I got this call. I was actually at my friend's house at the time. And it was a case of there's been a phone call. You need to ring so-and-so back. So I rang her back. She said, I'd like to offer you the job. And I was
Wow.
like, whereabouts again are you? She said, oh, Bahrain. I was like, oh, where's that? She's like, oh, it's at the other end of the causeway to Saudi. So I had no idea where it was going. So then, oh yes, and so I went over there. It was nearly 3 years I was out there, and I was teaching for iTech.
Right, yes.
And again, it was such an eye-opener there. The students were so respectful. They would call you Miss Rachael. And what was lovely, they wanted to learn, and they were, not that I'm saying the students over here don't want to learn, but it's a different world.
Discipline.
It is a different discipline, and they'd come in with a tray of samosas, miss, we bought you, I mean, it was like a size 10 then, but you know, we brought, and they were just so respectful, and they were just, the talent they had, you know, and a lot of them, you know, for whatever reason, when they qualified, unfortunately, maybe weren't allowed to work, or where they were going to work, something didn't sort of suit, you know, fit. So after 3 years, the government pulled the funding for that, and I think it went into technology. So after, you know, that's why I was only there 3 years. Otherwise, I probably would have still been there, because I absolutely loved it. And to say that the students, and I always remember, you'd hear them, because I had a translator initially who would translate Arabic to English and vice versa, and I'd be talking, it could be about, you know, bones of the face, or, you know, the nerves in the face. And I could see the students look at the translator, then look at me, and I was like, what have you just told them? And I thought, well, that's not right. So in the end, we just got rid of her, the middleman, lovely as she was. But it was hard for her as well.
Yeah.
So in the end, you'd hear them, you know, they'd be stood next to, say, the galvanic unit, and I'd hear them say, oh, mushkil, mushkil. I'm like, girls, is there a problem with the machine? Oh, miss, you speak Arabic. Oh, just enough. And then they'd maybe come in with like their sickness certificate, or they had a hospital appointment. I said, but this is dated, I don't know, July. Miss, you read Arabic? Well, I learned just the numbers off the car, registration, things like that. And they were just so respectful. They were absolutely lovely. And I think, do you know what, the end of the course, the 9-month course that they did for iTech, you think, and they'd pass and they'd get the certificate, and there'd be a big presentation. You think, oh my God, I told them that. But they've took it on board and they've done it. But some of the work, the girls, I remember they wanted to draw on the big flip charts. They drew like a face with all the facial nerves on, and I was like, right, we're getting these up on the walls. So the whole of the classroom was covered in everything they did. And I just felt that they'd never had anybody praise them and say, absolute, just fabulous. And then you'd have another day in the school where all the girls would run out because there'd be geckos all over the salon wall, the classroom wall. I'd be thinking, should I be scared of these? And like, come on, girls, back in. But I never had any problems with any of they were just,
you wouldn't have any problems with attendance or anything like that.
They were just lovely. And then when I left there, I got offered, when the contract finished, as a job opportunity arose in Saudi Arabia, and I just thought, no, because, you know, I like to do my own thing, and at the time it wasn't the right place for me. So I came back to Durham, and I went for an interview in a college sort of south of Durham. And I remember sat waiting for the interview, and I'm just thinking, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be here, because all the students were coming in, and the head of the beauty department, I could have said, girls, get your hair tied up, take your nail polish off, do this. And I thought, I didn't have any of that in Bahrain. There was none of that. And I don't really want to. And then anyway, it all came to all when I was doing the trade test in my whites afterwards. I was getting changed, speaking to the girl in the changing room. She'd been for an interview 3 weeks ago, and I think it was already a done deal. And I just thought it wasn't, so I didn't want to go back into the education, but I went for the interview, and I'm pleased I went, because I realised that wasn't for me.
I think you sometimes have to know what you don't want to know what you do want, don't you, really?
Yeah.
So next, what happened next? I mean, this is brilliant.
I know I missed a bit out. I missed a salon I worked in Durham. I missed that out. That was fabulous training. So rewinding, sort of before the ships, I worked in a lovely salon in Durham called the Upper Room.
Oh yes,
which is at the top of the street,
room,
and then you had the worst nightclub in the world. I think Clute was at the bottom of the bank. And I worked for a lovely girl there called Beverly, and I remember being so proud. I went and did my décolleté training in London. You had the little white jacket with the gold buttons and the pink trim on there, and sort of just. Again, I think a lot of the journey then, it was all about like the products, whereas now I've learned it's about the person I have in front of me.
Yes.
It's not about the products, it's about the
Yeah.
person. So then I went to work in a spa as a deputy manager, whereas I met my good friend who we sort of crossed paths on the ship, worked there. And again, it was quite a rural spa that had a problem with keeping staff. A lot of the girls were young and again wanted to party at the weekend like we did on the ship, which is fine on the ship because you knew that you had to do it. You had to party and do your work. Whereas a bit different on land salons, you can't.
It's easy to pull a sickie and things.
Yeah.
And,
So I left there, and then I was fortunate to get a job as an educator. So with the distributors of Environ, David and Tracy. So this was before they'd set up International Institute of Anti-Aging. So there was only me and another educator at the time. So again, I was still in education, but again, it was ladies like your lovely staff who wanted to become educated. So I think I did that maybe for about 6.5 years, and that was fabulous. I met some lovely people.
I know we still love you coming. We used to absolutely love you because and the clients used to always love you, and the thing is, I think it's just your overall demeanour and the way you look at the industry and you're very much a people person, which I think is a great, obviously it's huge in our industry.
Yes.
And I think you just wrap it all up together and say we still absolutely love when you were coming.
Well, I love coming to you as well because you could always did the job and you didn't ever feel you were judged. Some salons you could go into and you'd feel quite, it doesn't feel. But then I think if I don't feel relaxed, how a client's going to feel? But I love coming into yours. It was always like coming home. But I did that for, was it maybe 6.5, 7 years? But that was like living out of a suitcase.
How big was your area?
Well, I did training anywhere from, there was one girl in head office, she did London, and I got anywhere from Scotland, so I used to go up to Glasgow, down to Exeter, Bristol, Manchester, York, and then Ireland, north and south.
Wow.
She got Bali once, I got Bristol, But and I think it took its toll. Much as I loved it, you'd sort of get back on a Friday night, turn around, and I'd maybe fly out to Dublin on the Sunday night or fly to Northern Ireland. And I was living in the northwest at the time. Then I moved to Leeds, but I'd still come up to Durham to see family. And then maybe I'd fly out from Newcastle, but it just sort of took its toll.
Yeah. I mean, we had David on as a guest a few weeks ago, and the thing is, you when you see these huge companies now, you forget how small it was when they started, and how everything's evolved and things. So it was lovely that you were there at the beginning because
fabulous.
It was just
because him and Tracy had got the distribution for UK and Ireland of Environ skincare, and then they developed the advanced nutrition program.
Yeah.
And then there were distributors of the makeup range as well, Jane Airedale. So they had the 3 fabulous brands that worked together. And then when I was with them, they set up the IAAA. But again, it's such a small team, we'd probably all fit in this room round the, and now they wouldn't. But there was only sort of 2 of us were educators. But again, I think what helped me a bit in the industry was that because I was away so much, there's only so much you can do when you're in a hotel. And, I take a little DVD to keep fit in the hotel. I've got cameras in here and need me bobbing around to strictly DVD to keep fit. I started doing psychology through the Open University. I started doing a degree. I think I only did it for 5 years because in the end, Susan, I had to buy a dictionary to understand some of the terminology that was in the questions. But it helped me a lot because I was dealing so much with people, everybody that came on training, and it's just, making me aware what are other people going through. Yeah. And that, I wouldn't say kept me sane, because then you start to think, evolutionary psychology and how your brain changes and everything. It was absolutely, so I did that for 5 years. It was just fascinating. And I remember I was training in, one of the training centres. And I could have anybody on the training course who was taking Environ on. There could be receptionists, hairdressers, beauty therapists. Then there was a lot of doctors and nurses who started doing the injectables. who came through on training. So you needed to know your stuff because you would get quite nervous who was coming in. And I remember one day the door just banged open in the training centre, and these two ladies came in, and I thought, and so I was like, just take yourselves a seat. And she was like, who did the directions for here? We've been driving round and round. And then you just get this thought, something is not quite right here. Something isn't quite right. It's disrupting the class. And I said, well, we can speak about, who gave you who did the directions at break time. No, I want to speak now. And so I said, well, to the rest of the class, if you just excuse me, I've got a bit of a situation. I need to sort this out. So I'll just go and ring head office and let you know now. In the training room at the time, everybody was here. The phone was just there. So it wasn't like I could go in another room. And then she thought, it doesn't matter, we'll sort it out later. And she sat down. I thought, something isn't quite right here. So at the break time, I'll never forget. And she just said, I'm really sorry how I behaved. It was my first day back at work. I've been off work having chemo. And it's my first day back. And I think, had I not done the psychology, but also I did the Anthony Robbins in 2007, and it was things that he makes you aware. You don't know somebody else's journey.
Yeah, I always like to say, you never know what's going on in someone's life.
No.
And the thing is that you'll be the same with your salon, your clinic. But, if anyone is ever sort of their personality's changed or it's normally that something's happened either just before, just after, or something's going on in their lives, and as I say, like, it's just, you've just got to absorb that, haven't you, really? Because otherwise it depends, because the thing is, if you react back the same way to someone, then it just accelerates it. But I always like to say to everyone, you just never know what's going on in someone's life.
You don't. And then she explained, and then everything was fine after that. And then doing the big beauty exhibitions that I used to with Environ, she was at one of the exhibitions and I could see her coming over. She had a different hair colour, glasses on, she looked fabulous. And she said, you don't remember me? I said, I'll never forget you. And we had a giggle about it. And it's that thought, I thought she's either going to be my best friend by the end of this course or she's going to absolutely hate me. But again, it's that which I think I learned on the ship. You've got to think on your feet. Even though I was working for Dave and Tracy, they were down in London. There's nobody in the area at the time who I could sort of would have my back. And it's just sort of how you handle yourself.
Oh, brilliant. So how long did you stay there until really?
It was about 6.5 years. I think I just got living out of a suitcase, and it's just, you didn't have that quality of life. And I think had the products not been very good, I wouldn't have been still there. But
they're
fabulous
fabulous
products that I still use now. Absolutely love them. And again, I found when I went to Ireland, whether it was north or south, it was like going to a different like a different place, because I mean, you've travelled a lot and you're in hotels on your own. I never used to take any open university stuff there because they'd always say, right, you're not being in the hotel on your own, you're coming out with us, or we'll come to the hotel to have dinner. And they just used to welcome with open arms in Ireland. I love going to Ireland. I loved it. And again, I found over there the girls were either very holistic or they have everything, every machine, and they're very, very switched on. And I say, I loved going over there. And then after that, I left and I went to work for two of the skin brand companies for short spaces of time, just because I didn't want to do the travelling. But again, you live and learn, realise that these other two skincare brands were just not a patch on Environ. And like you, Susan, I can't work with something if it isn't for me.
It's got to be a fit and a match kind of thing.
So then anyway, I ended up moving back to my hometown with Durham. Had my son, and it's like I said before, it's sort of like the decision's taken out of your hands.
I can remember when you told us you were pregnant. I can remember that day. It was distinctly.
Well, I was thinking I'll have to put him in the suitcase and take him round. I can't go from Durham to Nottingham and be at Nottingham for 9 o'clock. And the nursery didn't open till 7. And of course, overthinking all these things that are going around, hormones and everything. And then I had him out one day in the pushchair, and I walked past a salon. Well, it was a hair salon near where I live, and I thought, oh, they used to be North Roads. Philip can't have 2 of them. So went in, made an appointment. I'm post-pregnancy, do my grace, sort me out. So lovely Philip, the hairdresser, his salon, he said, what are you going to do, Rachel? He said, when you're due to go back to work. And I said, oh, I don't know what to do. I said, childcare, I don't know. And he said, I've got a room for rent here. So fast forward nearly 12 years. Yeah. That's when I ended up sort of setting up business, or rented a room off Philip. And we're similar age, similar personality. He's fabulous at his job. He has sort of like a 3 months waiting list of clients. He's in 6:30 on a morning till 6:30 on a night. He has such a fabulous sort of work ethic. That's it, put my teeth in. That it's nice to work with somebody who, has similar
values and
value the clients coming in as well.
Yeah.
And then about 3-4 months ago, Philip decided to downsize. Doesn't mean he's doing any less hours. So at the back of our salon, just outside of Durham, he had a new build salon built out the back just for me and him. So
I can't wait to come and see this.
Susan, you'll have to come. It's amazing. And it just feels like I've just gone into the industry again, because everything's new. So it feels like I've set up business again.
Yeah.
And it's just, so I'm very, very fortunate in my job. And I think I've said to you before, you think, oh, I can't believe I got this opportunity at this time. And I can't believe I'm so lucky that I'm doing a job I love. And where my room is, Philip will have 2 clients sort of sat there, and there was a client just a couple of months ago. We hadn't actually long moved in, and she was just saying about work, and she hates work and Mondays and this. It must have been December time, because we're in Mondays.
Yeah.
And I looked at her and said, but we love our job. To me, I can't understand anybody who doesn't love the job. I've been very fortunate, the route I've been able to sort of to take to do that. And I think that's because my parents have always said, make sure you do a job you love. Digressing a bit here, but my dad, bless him, who's 85, he got a trial for Darlington Football Club in his younger days, and his dad had said, there's no money in that, you're not doing that, get a real job. So from there, my dad's always been, as long as you enjoy it, it pays, do what you want. So I've been fortunate, I've always had that support. So I said to this client, and look where we work. Look at the building we're in, and you could see a face sort of, yeah, she's right.
Yeah. I always think you should do what you love. But funny enough, my dad always used to say, there's no money in the beauty industry, Really? And I think it just made me more and more determined to think, yes, it is. And I mean, obviously now, bigger than the car industry, aren't we? It's like a huge industry. Yes. But I just absolutely love all of the ways that you've weaved, your career has just been. I always think that everything happens at the right time, and it's all mapped out. And I mean, for you, you've travelled the world, you've done all sorts, and I just think there isn't that many careers that like ours that you can go anywhere in the world and take and do what you want, kind of thing, in so many different ways. But Rachel, what are your golden nuggets for someone who either's in the industry now, or just what would you say are your main takeaways of what you've learned in the industry?
Well, I think I would say get yourself a Susan.
I love that.
No, it's true, because when I started up sort of 12 years ago, I had an 8-month-old son at the time. Yes, I knew I'd worked with Environ, and I loved that, and I knew it was about the people and what my clients wanted, but I didn't know how to set up like a web page or advertising. And this is another thing in this industry. Yes, you're passionate about what you do, but it's everything else. If you can't do that, your business won't work.
Yeah, it's like a jigsaw, putting it all together. You've got to have all the pieces move and pull them together, kind of thing. Oh, that's lovely. Thank you.
Well,
Rachel.
no, it's true. I would.
And what else?
And what else? It's just... What else? Just say, just sort of go with what you want to do if you're passionate about it. And it's like I said, I didn't want to stay in education. I didn't want to be in local education and colleges, but what I do now is in education because I'm still educating clients. You know, when they come back, even after, you know, a couple of months, then they'll say, oh, God, I slept wonderful after that massage or that, you know, lava shell massage or aromatherapy, because even though I do a lot of skin, I still do the holistic. So I'm so fortunate I can pick and choose what I want to do. And I do a lot of the relaxation techniques, and I do a lot of the facials. Is that just in the industry, my fear in the industry, Susan, was becoming a jack of all trades. Because when I think everything you sort of get assessed for in college, you can't possibly be good. I didn't feel I could possibly be good at everything.
Yeah.
And it's like when we said, going back earlier in the conversation about you did hair and beauty and I just want to do the beauty. I think colleges wouldn't offer a course that was to be an electrician and a plumber. Maybe they do. I don't. It's two different
We used to
things.
be in with the electricians when I did my training. I think because there wasn't really at that point it was only the second year that ran a course in the northeast when I did mine.
Where was yours
I
at?
did North Tyneside.
Oh, right.
So the thing is that we used to get taught by physiotherapists. We used to get taught by cosmetic science was by the scientist. We would be in with the electricians learning electrical science and things, which at the time I used to think, what do we need all this for? But now I can look at a piece of equipment and think, yep, that's going to do this. But it's interesting, isn't it? But I think back then, I think they thought, because beauty hadn't really taken off in the northeast, I think they thought, well, at least they can all be hairstylists. But yeah, the thing is that I think you've either got the passion for one or the other kind of thing. And you're right, you know, like when you're saying about just do what you love, the thing is that I always, like with my team and everything, look at what they love doing, because they're then going to promote that. They are going to, you know, they're going to, because you learn so many different things, and that's what I love about the industry too, that you can just take one element, say nails, and make that your whole career. You know, there's like a fabulous career. We're just so lucky.
We are, and we get to talk as well. We know when to keep quiet when our clients are relaxing, but you learn so much from people, don't you? And it's true, that saying where they say then clients become your friends quicker than your friends become clients. It's very, very true. Some wonderful clients.
So what are your plans now for the future then, Rachel?
Plans for the future are to specialise a lot more in skin, and just to, you know, keep on educating people, especially not to watch these TikTok videos that... it's scary, Susan. You know, I'm doing this digital marketing course because I'm not very au fait with anything electrical. And first TikTok video I came across, couldn't believe it. You know, I put in anti-aging for 40 plus. Couldn't believe it. He said, all these comments, everybody's doing it. This woman had a banana skin, rubbing it on her face. And I'm thinking, is this a joke? Or from the comments, people, I've tried that. I'm thinking, why would somebody, but why would people then do it? And I think it's to try and just keep educating people, because I have people come and said, I've seen this thing on TikTok, and as soon as I say it, I'm thinking, right, just calm, just breathe. And I thought, but could you imagine if somebody came into the salon, right, what can you do? Oh, we're going to do banana facial. They think I was mad, but because somebody on TikTok does it, oh, it's all right. And that's when I think I just want to keep educating people in the sane way that they should be. And it's like I'll say to my lovely ladies that come in, especially I've had a lot of new ones since we've moved. If you're anywhere and somebody wants to, you're walking through a department store, they want to sell you something, ask them what it does, how it's going to do it, what ingredient is going to do it. And if they can't answer, keep walking.
Yeah.
And I'll say, if they're giving you a free bag, the bag will be put over your head because the products don't work. And they look at me, but so I say, it's just trying to keep educating people.
Yeah.
Because again, when I first started off with all the ranges that I've worked with, you'd have a range for dry skin, for sensitive skin, oily skin. When I look back now, that person was still on that oily range for like 5 years. Why? It wasn't working. Whereas I'm so fortunate now with Environ, it works.
Yeah.
And it's science.
Yeah. But I think as well, all the professional products now, there are more where you can tailor them kind of thing as well, of thing. Because like client skin's continually changing. So yeah, and that's what I mean, I love Environ too. So we both. But so Rachel, if anyone wanted to get in touch with you, or obviously to even come for a treatment, because your treatments are off the scale, fabulous.
Oh, thank you, Susan.
Obviously, you're in Durham.
Yes,
Yeah.
I'm in Durham. So I'm on Instagram, Beauty Within Durham.
Yeah.
And also have a Facebook page. And my webpage is being updated as well. But yes, Beauty Within Durham on Instagram. And yes, so that's where you can find me.
Oh, amazing. It's been so good chatting to you. I mean, the thing is that you're just such an inspiration, because, as I say, I just think it just shows that, like, you can just do anything that you want in our industry, and I love it.
Susan, anybody can.
Yeah, like, you just say you're amazing, and I get the privilege of working with you as well, so I love it. So.
Oh, well, likewise as well, Susan. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Rachel.
Thank you.